The next milestone I thought I'd work on is to send more of these modifications to the scene via updates. Send all updates via events, including member join, member leave, mic muting, entity creation, etc. Which means that our command module is going to expand, because we created, in the last video, we created the space command with a single create box. But something I don't like about this is if in the UI we have a way to create a box with a selected color, then we have to modify this function. So it might be more amenable to changes if we had something like components like this, and then you just send along components like that. Now it complains, right? Key components not found. Okay, so it's over here, ID, name, and then it has components. So let's see, now we can process the event, which will broadcast it. We'll broadcast it over here. This is broadcasting the channel. This is queuing for writing. Message and payload. Message. Simply the type of struct that it is. And I think we can shorten this. So maybe we can just pass the event. Then we have the message is toString, the struct part, but let's just keep the last part. So if you were to split string.split the binary, split on the dot, and then give me the, so this would give you what, a list. I want the last one, so give me list.last. And okay, that's the message, and then the rest of it is map from struct. So then creating it, we would have to say position. So for components, I think you could just say name, like position, color, whatever, and then a value. Is components a map or is components a list? It could be either. Component is a map, might be more efficient because of the name of the map guarantees its uniqueness. And then the value can be a map or an array. Either way, I think this works out. So this will be the payload. So then we broadcast that. So in box created, space command to create this. This could be position 0, shorten it, position, rotation, scaling, scale. But if these are the names of components, we shouldn't shorten it, right? Position, rotation, scaling, and then I still feel like this might be a little ambiguous. Let's just use this. It could be x, 0, y, 0, z, 0. Okay, so that creates a box of components. So if we just, let's say, ecto reset, next ecto reset, and go to server, and we'll create space A. Next, we will enter the space, so the server is started. Then we'll issue a command, which will be our command, space command, create box with slug for A, ID, ecto UID generate, name, box, don't need those, and it inserted a box with components. yes, the front end didn't draw anything because we got incoming box created, which is this, and we haven't matched this message. So in order to fix this, go to Scene Manager. Now we only need to match on this part. And so we're going to get components, which is a type of this, and each one of this is a kind of vector 3. I wonder if we shouldn't just express all rotations of quaternion rotation. Let's do that. Then Scene Manager will take out components, and we'll set the position as so. So do this again. There's a box. Okay. There's details to work out. I think we need to use quaternion rotation everywhere, and store as array. Yeah. Store as array everywhere. Okay, so that's the new standard. Let's go and see. That makes me think, is there a better way of specifying types? Take a break and look at some type languages for Elixir or Erlang. Okay, I kind of took a look at Gleam and some types, but I don't want to make this project too complicated, especially with another experimental technology. So how do we submit a command from the front end? Right now we're doing it here in the console to use the command, but if you're in the front end, right now this is happening with JavaScript through the space broker. And we have stuff we're sending from the channel, outgoing. This is outgoing and then we push it on the channel. So we could, instead of doing this, we could push a command down and then receive events. That makes for a pretty nice API, but you need to maintain a list of commands in JavaScript and a list of events, and the back end can just save the events. Maybe you don't need types in Elixir. They just become maps, and then you can pattern match on the name of a tuple, and then you can transform it for the snapshot. So that's an idea. What if front end has two APIs. We have the JavaScript goes to Signal Hub, and Signal Hub eventually goes to channel push. Then we have the other one, which is the HTTP transport, or GraphQL, for example. This can use a mutation, which is kind of a command. Okay, so both of these can send a command object struct to a handler, but then we would have to match on the type of command and then produce an event. At least for the front end, this makes it very unambiguous what direction they're heading, because commands go out and events come in. So this is quite nice from the front end point of view. But then you have this maybe huge switch statement, which is with Elixir it's not a huge switch statement. It has multiple function heads. Which can take maybe the command name, and the payload. I guess it doesn't need command, it could just be, yeah, command name and payload. You send that, and this returns kind of an event name payload, which is easy peasy, almost one for one. And then we continue to persist events to database. And we can create snapshots every X events. So the front end can have folder of command interfaces, I guess, and a folder of event interfaces. You gotta come back and you got to do something with it. Interfaces are types. And backend doesn't need types. Doesn't need type, just pattern match on the value in the tuple to create snapshot. Okay. That would mean that in JavaScript, maybe we have a folder for commands. Maybe a folder for events. So a command can be, in fact, I don't know if these need to be separate files. What if these were just in the types? So we could have maybe commands and events. Alright, so one of them can be export type. And I wonder if you could just do this. It's a command, and it's one of these, which is the name of the command. Can you do a tuple? How do you do a tuple in TypeScript? Tuple TypeScript. So the tuple could it be like a member joined, and the here it can be a payload of the member ID, which is a string. So it's this, or member, no, so member join, member leave, member move, and then for events, you would have export type of an event, and this is one of these. Member joined, member left, member moved, joined, and here, that's fine. Joined left. Could have a timestamp. Remember, moved where? So you could have a pause rut. Maybe you could also have a speed, like how many frames per second, or just how many duration. Remember, move needs the pause rut. So if we're issuing this from GraphQL, we'll have a mutation, so we'll be a little redundant here. We'll have a mutation that matches this, and then it will resolve and send the command to some sort of command handler. So then we'll have a command handler so let's go to the space command. Let me rename this to command handler, and we'll call this command handler, and we'll just have really one function head, which will be handle command, and it handles a tuple with member join, for example, and this is the member ID to the member ID. And what you'll do here is you'll just rewrite this into another tuple, which will be member joined. And in fact, we'll just take that payload and drop in that payload. You'll handle the command, which gives you back that. And so if the front end sends an object like this, to the back end, we're gonna let's do an example from, let's say, somebody joined. In which case, well, currently we're kind of doing it wrong because somebody hits the join button. That should actually send us an event like they want to join, right? So that happens when, yeah, we don't have an explicit command for this. That happens in some of the Svelte. I think in the welcome. So we say join space, and then we hit the join callback. Join callback. Okay, so that's passed in from app. Join callback. So we emit local that we've joined, which is registered and people are listening to it. So this is one downside, is it's hard to grasp what happens with that. So we need to do joined or joined. Okay, so somebody is listening here. Okay, joined. So on joined. So now we're looking at joined. We'll combine latest. When the camera is ready and we're joined, then yes, we send forth, we connect to channel with our channel params. Channel params is anything, which is here. Which has got channel params. We've got pause rot, state, like preferences, all this kind of stuff. Which this can be the type as well. Type channel params, which can be pause rot, and state, which is string, 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 boolean, and string. Fix, import that. Channel params, channel params. And this channel params is we probably need to set this. What is this? Now it's a number. Okay, so it's a number. It has some default value here. Channel params is Oops. Undefined. So we know everything except that part. And so here, I guess we don't need to set this again. Now we can do polygon equals this. And then the only thing that's different about this is maybe the updated at. Anyway, so we connect to the channel, and then at that point we should say we want to join. So there's a difference between connecting to a channel. I feel like the Phoenix presence is more about your presence in the channel, but if we want to be consistent about storing the event sourcing, we need to have control over that. So that is maybe a big thing to tackle. So we need to handle joining and leaving a space separately than joining a space channel, and turn joining and leaving a space into explicit events. Okay. Take a break.